everybody. Ooh, get these speakers turned down. Okay, we got a new setup here today. This is coming back through my head for that, I think. So I'm holding this. I'm a little dark. Might have to turn some lights up. And I want to thank everybody for being here. So I see people are busy. I recognize lots of folks, John and Buzza Wuzza and Otto and everybody here. I want to thank everybody for being here. 5 Watt Live is brought to you with the support this week again of Friends of 5 Watt on Patreon. I'll talk more about that in the middle of the hour. Yeah, a lot of folks there. Mic is hot, really loud. I can turn that down. How's that? You like the headphones? Who've had slow mode chat is annoying. I'm sorry, you guys are just too fast for me and Bebe. Let me turn the light up a little bit. There you go. That's how you know we're live. How's the levels now, Bebe? Turn your mic down. I did turn it down. I can pull it back even. I can take the Rode off there. They don't pay me anything. Sounds good now, John Gregory? Okay. The real question is whether this is going to sound good. We'll do a whole other level of sound check with this. I got 2 Miras here. I want to thank everybody for being here. Of course, like I said, I've been getting a lot of questions over in, these bug me. I'm not a studio rat like Baby. I'm not used to the cans. I'll put them on and off. I've been a lot of questions in my Instagram because I've been showing pictures of these Miras that I bought in the wake of the Collings. And it was funny. I think I said on an earlier chat, somebody was saying, I thought you buy guitars in threes. And I bought 2 of these as workhorses. I'm going to talk about why I bought these in particular and how I'm going to use them for future videos. But I'm going to actually do a little history of the Mira because the Mira actually is the first PRS that I ever had. And I think it's a really cool guitar. And I was a little disappointed when they went to SE only on the model. All right. I want to make sure everything's good. Ron's there. Greetings from Israel. Hey, people far and wide. Dave Measham says he wants to know all about what Miras have to offer. I will try to do that history. And one of the things I think is amazing about these is kind of the prices that they've stuck to. They've sort of fallen from their original purchase prices to a set point, and they seem to be hanging there. Although people tell me that a few years ago, they were quite a few $100s less. I still think they're a real bargain. As I said, the Mira was the first PRS I ever bought. I think it's cool to share them now. Yeah, that's what I got. I got a pile. I can't show you on camera. I'll be pulling the stuff off to the side. I got a pile of stuff that I'm going to put on these Miras. I'm going to get some feedback from you about things I should do, especially to this one, as we go along. The other thing I want to do today, after we go through the Mira stuff and I do questions as we go, Perry. Hey, Perry. Perry's saying everything's elevated. I thought you meant my levels. Everything is still up from pre-pandemic. What was the intro music? I was just going to say that. The intro music today was a demo of a 2008 Mira that they had at Vintage Guitar Oldenburg, Germany, guitar shop there in Oldenburg. I became aware of them because they used Tobias Hoffman, who is a jazz Americana studio guy in Europe that I did not know before, who's amazing. I hate to say this because I hate to refer to a player by the context of another player, but if you know Bill Frisell, he's kind of a bluesier Bill Frisell kind of thing. I'm not sure if he went through the Bill Frisell downtown knitting factory, outside John Zorn scene that Bill went through to get to this melodic man that he is as an older fellow now. But Tobias has got a lot of that melodic stuff. And so he put down that loop and then he played over it. And if you go listen to the actual video, I'll try to link it in the description after the live stream. He plays probably half the video. It's about a 5-minute video and half of it is clean. And he really shows the variety of tones that you can do. I will, Chad, I'll put a link in the description because actually everything, if you just search on Tobias, you will not be disappointed ever. All of his demos are just incredible. Everybody's doing it already, but I'm going to remind you, I want to encourage everybody to talk to each other in the hang. As you know, I always really make a big emphasis that 5 Watt World is a community and communities talk to each other, not just this direction and that direction. Like I said, I've been working on getting the sound straightened out so I can demo things that I have as we go. So, if I'm going to take these risks, you guys can take a risk and talk to each other. So encourage the hang. If you want to get my attention, as Chad just did, Chad Romney there just did, do you have a link? put the at 5 watt world, it'll pop up, and then I'll see it in orange over in the YouTube chat. Okay. All right. So that's it. The headphones are here. I'll put them in place, and we'll strum a chord. I'm actually coming through my prototype Barber pedal. I apologized profusely to David because I had tested it with a friend who will remain nameless because he was very encouraging and it sounded terrible. I think I've got it worked out better today. So I can't always tell what levels you're getting though, because I'm monitoring through the Stomp. I can see that in StreamYard I'm getting levels. How's that? How's the levels, baby? Seems I scared everyone away. No responses in the chat. Sounds nice. Steve, Undercover Steve. Very well balanced. Do you have a workhorse amp? These are great. Good questions. Okay. Ron Zaire is correct, and Phil McKnight is correct. This is a Joe Nagst design guitar. I'm not sure he did the Mira X. This is a Mira X. So let me, as I said, I'm working on a video. Here I am on Thursday of the week. I should be releasing a full video. We're going to the end of the month, into the fall. August hang is over. I've got a video that I'm editing now called The 10 Les Pauls That Changed the World. And I'm really excited about it. It's a different style of video. It's definitely history oriented, but at the same time, I think that Dan Myers is asking what headphones. I looked these up last time. They are, hold on. They should give them me a set, but they didn't. M-E-Z-E. M-E-Z-E. You can get them in different woods, silver or gold. So acoustic-ish. We'll turn that up, John. We'll turn it up. It'll be less acoustic-y later on. Anyway, I'm working on the 10 Les Pauls That Changed the World video. I had some technical stuff early in the week. I lost 2 days of editing. So here we're doing it a long streak because there's nothing I'd rather do than hang out with you guys. I'm going to try to move towards doing a live every week, even when I'm working on a script. It's kind of a nice break in the week for me, and I really love the community stuff. I'm really willing to work on it. So I will answer all these questions. It's great questions here. The last day of vacation. Steve Palmieri says, last day of questions. I finally get to see the live stream. Well, glad we're here, Steve. Okay. So one of the most interesting things I've heard over the years, I'm going to switch Miras because I'm going to talk about these in the order that they came out. This is an X. Both of these guitars were purchased by me within the last year, actually within the last 6 months. That on the back, if you're wondering, is me. I always put the sticker of a little cutout of the strings that are on the guitar. So I remember what I'm testing on this guitar. That's a set of 9 Ernie Ball Slinkies. This is a 2010 Core Mira with hollow birds. Hollow birds ran from 2008 through 2010. They're my favorite birds, and you can still get them on Wood Library guitars. This one is stock, and it is not going to be stock for much longer. I got a big pile of parts there. One of the most interesting things I heard over the years was Paul saying that they would always use a Mira to test the new amp designs when they were coming out with new amps. And you can really understand that because the guitar is such, somebody was asking, workhorse? I think of a workhorse, I grew up on a farm. I think of a workhorse as the thing that you turn to get the job done. When these guitars were released, there was a lot of noise about how they were a working man's guitar. And I'd say that's absolutely true. I'm going to go through the specs. I think it'll be a lot clearer. We're going to, this black guitar, Telly Bear's given some stats already, so I better get going here. Yeah, Ren's answer. Right. I love the hollow birds. So I'm going to go quickly through the history of the Mira. The Mira was first released, as I said, and it was in 2007, and it was sort of at the end of 2007. I've seen very few 2007 guitars out there. They had both moon inlays, moons, the crescent moons that they used to have. And the first ones, the birds were solid birds, the 2007. The hollow birds came in 2008. They were designed as a stripped down model. They were designed by Joe Knaggs, who was the head of design at PRS for many years prior to leaving and starting his own Knaggs guitar company. The shape is, as I understand it, based on the earliest double cut. Paul was really, really infatuated with the sound of double cut juniors. And that was sort of the beginning of a lot of his design aesthetic. This is very much that, except it's a 24 fret neck. It's a 25-inch scale. It is a mahogany body and a mahogany neck, rosewood fingerboard. As I said, this one has the hollow, I don't know, they kind of look like Lapua birds, actually. They kind of disappear on the neck. It's why I love it. It has a really nice rosewood neck. Beautiful rosewood neck. Really nice one. Bebe said before we got started, and I was teasing him that he can't give away too many of the stats. He said that they averaged about 7.5 pounds. In my experience, they averaged less than that. They're more like a light Strat, like a 7.25. But it's not uncommon for them to be like this. This one is 6.6 pounds, and it's perfectly balanced. There's no neck dive. One of the guitars that they compared this to when they came out was the SG. And this is not like an SG to me at all. They came with two different necks. They had a wide, thin neck, and then this was the pattern neck, the standard. I think they called it standard in those years, which in 2010, they started calling it the pattern neck. It's similar to a wide fat, but not quite as fat. Not quite as fat as a wide fat, because the wide fat necks were available on like Santana models and stuff and other models. But this one had, like I said, I think the tag in my case, I have the original case with the original tag. Although this guitar is pretty mint, it's got some wear on it. It's got some dings. Let's see, why don't I go top to bottom? There were two different generations of the Phase 2 locking tuners. There was this earlier generation. I never remember which one. If John Mann was here, he could tell us immediately which company built which. You'll see that the tuning buttons on this are nice and small. I love this. This is actually the same size tuning buttons that David Grissom had on his guitar, and he's actually now gone back to a small button on the most current DGTs. This has the smaller buttons. I actually have a set of small bone nut buttons to put on this guitar when we go to the new tuners for this guitar, and we'll cover modifications later on. Watching my time here. Somebody's saying, how many guitars do you need? I'm covering that. I'm going to cover that today. Who is that? YouTube, YouTube censorship. I should have got that handle. All right. So it's Joe Knaggs design, as I said. The first one that I bought in 2008. And if you'll remember the financial crisis in 2008, PRS did something they've never done since. They let you, if you bought a guitar, you could send it back to the factory, and the tech center would swap out the pickups for any pickups you chose, including the only time they've ever done this, they made the DGT pickups available. And so I had a vintage orange with a wide, thin neck, which I was young and foolish at the time because I've really learned to love the standard neck. It fills my hand more. My hands are much older than they were in 2007, 2008. A wide, thin neck. And it was the guitar that we ended up using. Was hanging out with Dan Lurie all the time, and he was building amps for people. Paul Mitchell says it looks 1/4 inch too wide. I'm sure that's just on camera. My little hands, maybe that's what it is. Anyway, the Mira that I had at the time would be the guitar that we always tested new amps or new speaker combinations with. It was kind of like Paul saying that. We found it to be the same thing. Let's see. So they did them in a bunch of different finishes. If you go down to, there's actually not many core Miras listed right now in Reverb, but there's a few. And they did the batches of colors in different years. There's like a Sandstorm. I think this is kind of a shoreline gold color that I really like. Actually never had one. There's a lilac. That's a purple. I can't remember what they call this, kind of mint green that they had. And that one, yeah, that one was pretty cool. Some of those had perloid pickguards. At the time, you could get these pickguards in all different things directly from PRS, including you could get it in tortoise. and I'm going to run a clip when we get to the SEs, because I've never had an SE, but I know Brian Ewald has an SE and he uses it, and I'm going to run the little PRS ad clip of Brian talking about how he uses SEs. It's not a real cleaned up, but it's a nice raw clip that I grabbed at the last minute. They also did, somebody was mentioning in the chat early, they did special runs of all their guitars, but especially like the Miras, these sort of plain Jane kind of guitars. They did early in, around the time of NAMM shows, they would do special runs. And they did a batch of white ones with gold hardware, which are pretty rare, but not as rare as the black ones with gold hardware. And those might be, as somebody said, those might have been a custom run only. So JDL is reminding us. In the thumbnail, you'll notice that actually, I think it was in about 2010, or maybe it was from the beginning, they started doing some maple top ones. And I had a maple top one. I did find that, like all guitars, like all really interesting, truly interesting guitars, they're not tremendously consistent one to the next. And it's interesting because that's often a criticism of PRS guitars, is they don't have a soul, or they don't have, I don't know what we're supposed to think those things are. I always thought that kind of in a way that meant that they weren't, that there were no dogs, but they're definitely different. The maple one I had was heavier, and it didn't have a tone that really spoke to me. This I ordered, from REVERB because, frankly, okay, I love the color, and I knew what I was going to do with it, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do with the project. But it sounds great, and it's light. I did verify that it was light before I went ahead and get it. One of my favorite versions was they did a run in Grandma Hannon pink, which is an unusual color that kind of rears its head every once in a while. Steve Mary's jumping in to give his strong opinion about lacking of soul in PRS guitars. Let me talk about why I bought mine and why I liked it. At the time, they were the most reasonably priced US built PRS guitars. They were the least expensive core guitars you could get. I would rather it had a 22 fret neck and a shorter scale, but I'm going to talk about a couple of different models they did that have that. My friend is asking neck carves. It's like some of these things are just popping up at exactly the right time. As I said, I used to like the wide thin carve, and I'm a little disappointed. And now I like the fatter carve. This is a little bit fatter neck. You can actually, I think that's actually pretty visible, that you can see that this neck is very similar to my Collings necks. And all the Colling neck carves are the same out there. The guitar itself, though, is relatively thin. Let's see if I can get it with the camera. There. It's not thin like an SG because the edges aren't thin. It does have a tummy bevel in the back there, and it does have a forearm bevel on the front. And that changed with the different models over time. I'm not sure how different the S2 was when that changed. I'll talk a little bit about how those things did change. But that was one of the things I liked. It's a light guitar. I've long had you might even use strong word, but fetish for really light guitars. They stay in tune really well. And I think that's probably just a lack of moving parts. They have the nice simple wrap bridge, although I'm going to talk about going to an adjustable bridge at the bequest of Ron Ellis, his recommendation. They are obviously, not obviously, they are, they call them Mira pickups, but these are actually uncovered pickups from a 245, which was a single cut model that they had around this time. Opinions on these pickups are really pretty varied. The general feeling is they can be on the neck can be a little muddy, and this can be a little strident. David Barber was teasing me that, I buy guitars in threes, and he bought the third one. I bought two Miras and he bought the third one. It's just like this, except his is baby blue with hollow birds and a white pickguard. And he had to admit that he couldn't get around the fact that it was absolutely beautiful. Where was I on the features? So mahogany, as I said, not SG. I like the early little buttons. I liked, sorry, I got distracted. What do you know? So David put covers on his. So basically taking them back to 245, solid nickel covers. And he said that tamed for him, it balanced the pickups in a way that he really likes. And he's messing with what capacitors he has. It has a switch right here for single to split both of these, so you can have single coil. I've always liked the split sound on this guitar with those pickups. I really enjoy it. And I've never used it dirty, but I like it clean. I'll give you a demo here in a half second. What else? Oh, and that switch is here because there's no pull pot. And on the Mira X, there's no, I'll talk about the features there because they did streamline it a little bit. So, all right, let me give you a few tones on the core Mira, and then I'll go back and do some questions. See if it's roughly in tune. I'm using an HX Stomp with, as I said, David Barber's pedal in front. David's pedal is there really just to add some harmonic content. People that are on here often probably realize that I really like an analog stage in front of my Stomp. I actually have two here. I've got a J-Rocket Melody and the B Custom pedal that I'm working on with David. And this is sort of dumbly, and that's going into a patch that John Cordy built for me. That's a variation on his gigging patch, which actually is also a Dumble model. So neck with the tone wide open, which is really kind of how you do it. When I rewire this guitar, I probably will wire it so that there's no tone control on the neck, because I always play the neck wide open. So I have the action really, really low, too low, kind of abusing the privilege, as the old saying goes. And these are 9s. And my hand has been tired lately, so I'm switching down to 9s for a while. So my friend says that I say Pol Pot. Well, you're showing your age, because anybody below a certain age isn't even going to know the whole Cambodia reference. I think it was Khmer Rouge, right? So let me play something here. Let me try to play something. Oh, it's pretty rattly. There. So that's the neck with the split. This is with it. This is with it in full humbucker. Oh, I even wrote this. Middle. Just keep playing until we get it right. It's getting worse. Okay, strumming maybe. I don't particularly care for the bridge split sound, but the bridge by itself is great. Roll the tone back a little. And then the way I've got this set up right now, I have the drive at about a quarter. But if I turn this, if I rev this up, we'll see if it blows up. Okay, let's do it a different way. Let's do more gain at the pedal. Pull this back. I'm pushing it out of. It does the whole rock and roll thing really well, better than I do. So that's the basic tones with this version. Where are we? Oh, it's already half past. Good God. All right, let's do some questions. Thanks, Steve. Steve's complimenting. Steve, it's not that they always are. This is the same shirt I've done this is the costume. This is the shirt I've reserved over all the years. So Otto says he likes playing over that progression. I'll send you a clip of it, Otto. It's pretty simple. Chase N, I'm going to do the questions in reverse because it's like come to them, wants to know if this is an S2 or an SE. It's neither. This is a core Mira from 2010. This is the 2010. When David Grissom was on, I'll repeat this. I apologize if people have been here every week. I said to David that I thought the 2008, 2009 guitars were extra special. And he said that he thought that the extra time that they gave the factory guys in 2008, 2009 to build the guitars paid off in 2010. And he plays a gold 2010 that he loves. So this is a core one. This is before the S2s came around. I'm going to talk about the dates of that. Let me do some of the questions here. I've never played. AC wants to know if I've ever played a Velo. They're incredibly light too, usually around 6.5 pounds. I've heard that. And I, frankly, I've always not played one out of self-defense. Alex241 says, is the PRS soap bar based on the Mira? Looks very similar. I'm going to talk about it. Actually, I'll do it right now because I'm going to transition to the Mira X. There were two unique configurations of Miras built during the years that they were building the core Miras. And one of them was a guitar that I used to own two of, actually. And I actually tried to buy another one back so that I could put some Ron Ellis pickups in it, but I missed it. And that was in 2010. They did a version of this guitar with 22 frets and a 24.5-inch scale, 24.56, whatever, very similar to the original Gibson scale, unlike this being a little longer. That had hollow birds that were ivoroid kind of looking. They came in about 4 or 5 different colors. Mostly you see red ones. I think red ones are the ones people are willing to give up. So it's the beautiful blue ones, a blue smoke burst. There was a black smoke burst, and there was a two-tone that I owned at one time, a two-tone brown to black, which was really gorgeous. And they were P90s. I didn't love the P90s they had in them. But if you roll them back a little bit, they were a little too hot, but if you roll them back a little bit, it was a great guitar. Really, really comfortable, really light. And they only made them in 2010. I can't remember how many they made, 250 or something. You do see them pop up periodically. The one just recently sold, a blue smoke burst just sold on REVERB recently. So they do show up. And I got one of mine from Guitar Center and one I got from REVERB years and years and years ago. They all went with the purge to help buy this house. All right, so that's this. That was one of the variations on this. The other one is the other guitar. So I'm gonna do my 5 Watt World ad, the Patreon ad, and then I'm going to go to the Mira X because we're right on schedule for that stuff. So let me get the bright red guitar. I'll pick that one back up when we talk about modding it, or I'll just show you the parts. Okay. All right, today's live stream is brought to you by the Friends of 5 Watt, my support community on Patreon. There are 3 levels of membership at $5, $10, and $50 a month. You probably realize that I read all the comments, but the patrons that are in Patreon have a lot more direct access to me via the messaging in that community, and I love hearing from everybody there. You know, I spent months thinking about what I wanted to call the channel. I always wanted it to be a community. I was living far in the mountains in New Hampshire at the time. I'd moved away from all my guitar friends in Burlington. You guys have heard this story before. And so I really wanted to create a place. I had never any idea that it would grow to the size that it has now, or even the number. I mean, like I think last week at the on the live stream for the talking about the Collings and the Les Pauls, we had 2,500 people here last week. So that's really beautiful. So we do about 450,000 views a month. There's 230,000 subscribers, a little more than that now. And then Instagram just broke 15,000 followers. So there's kind of like there's this funnel of levels of interest, and there's like 300 or 400 or 500 people that seem to always be here, which is very cool. And so at the $5 level, I am going to start doing live streams. I did them years ago, a year ago or more, and kind of nobody showed up when I did live streams for patrons. But there's different patrons now, so maybe that group would enjoy being in a smaller one. I'm going to do that. And as I said, I'm going to settle into doing a weekly here if I can. And then also, the every other week things. At $5 level, everybody gets invited to everything. They get, at $10, you get early access to the videos. And at the $50 a month level, you do a phone call with me if you want to every month. Actually, after I said that a couple of weeks ago, somebody asked if they were Zoom calls of all the people that are $50 level. No, they're all individual calls. Everybody, frankly, I find that everybody has really interesting individual stories, and I just enjoy them. I just enjoy meeting other guitar guys. There's a local guy here in Syracuse who had written to me when I first moved here, and now he's a patron, and he came over with his 57 Les Paul Jr. And I'd never played one before, and I was completely smitten with that Les Paul Jr. I did everything that I want a single pickup guitar to do. It really blew me away. Anyway, that's the Friends of 5 Watt on Patreon. As I said, if you can afford it, it'd be great to have you join up there and support the channel that way. It's a good, consistent way to do it. And you can always shoot me a question. You can always shoot me a question anyway. Go to the website and use the email form there, and then I'll respond back from the 5wattworld@gmail.com is the email address you can get to me. All right. So let's talk about the X Mira briefly. Excuse me. And then I will talk about the S2s and the SEs. So this is a even less expensive Mira. I should have said, when I bought this guitar a few weeks back, and I paid $1,050 plus shipping. So $1,050 for it plus shipping. New, when I bought mine in 2007, brand new from the factory, it was, I think it was $1,700 or $1,800. So I understand that at one time you could pick up Miras for like $700 or $800, but now they seem to be pretty steady at about $1,000, $1,100. A Carina with hollow birds last week sold for someplace in the mid-teens, like $1,500 or something, and it had a big repair on the headstock. I was really surprised it didn't go cheaper. If it went cheaper, I would be in danger of owning it probably for all these cool projects I got going. So the X was a model that they did in 2010. This is 2010, although it has non-locking tuners that are Kluson style tuners, the old tuners. So they look really cool. It says Mira X on it in a little white text there. It is a mahogany neck, but it's a basswood body, an African basswood body. And these were notoriously light. Has 22 fret neck. It has a 24.5-inch scale like the 2010 anniversary guitar. It has a very sort of utilitarian forearm bevel, and the bevel on the back is the typical one. This one weighs 5.5 pounds. And when I found this in this screaming cherry red, it immediately felt like Billy Gibbons to me. I can't tell you why, but it just seemed to say BFG to me. And so this is going to be, let me do this really quickly. So this is going to be a guitar that I'm going to outfit like a full bling Billy guitar. I don't have the pickups here somehow. They're downstairs. I have a set of Ron Ellis gold cover pickups to go here. I have a set of Kluson locking gold tuners from my good friend John Mann at John Mann's Guitar Vault in New Hampshire. John helped design the original PRS bridge, and John's adjustable bridge is available. It's locking. So you can see the set screws there. It's locking. It's adjustable. It's still very light. So that's going to go on here. What do you think? We're gonna gold this all out. I've got pickup screws. I've got gold pots. This does not have coil tapping. So you can't, there's no pull pot or anything. There's no switch. There's no coil tapping. I actually don't know. Bebe might know. I do not know what the pickups are in these Mira, in the SE Mira X guitars. I do not know what they are. So that's that. So the other thing is that there's not crescent moons. It's just straight dots on the neck. So it's kind of stripped down. I can't say what these cost at the time, but they were less for sure. So that's what these are. This one is pretty beat up. It's got some nice dings. Looks like it's been on the road with Billy. Here's the big question. Get ready to put it in the comments. I think I asked this before, but I'm here to ask again. I'm thinking of having this guitar pinstriped. So what do you think? Gold pinstripes with the gold hardware? That's what I'm leaning towards. All right. That question is out there. All right. Let me do some other questions. Then I'll talk about the S2 and the SE Miras. And then we'll talk about best times to have this live stream. All right. Let me do some of these questions. Favorite neck carve is pattern in a PRS. That's my favorite neck carve. Although I do love a DGT neck. I have to admit that my fingers are kind of fat on the end, and a little extra space is better than a DGT neck for me. Matt Gilbert says, do you have an amp and guitar that you use to test new pedals? The rig that I use most of the time in the living room, I'll either use in here. Actually, if you see them, they're kind of back there in the dark. I have a pair of Catalyst 60s, and I tend to run them stereo, one running the Boutique, which is I get them confused. One's dynamic and one's boutique. A Dumble and a matchless as the two models that I use. And so you're kind of filling in the gaps. I really like the Catalyst amps. I don't want to get into the whole digital, non-digital thing. In the living room, I have a clone FYD amps GA40 that I built with Dan Laureate FYD, and I have a Princeton Tone Master out there right now. So that's what I use to test. I know what all those sound like. And I don't actually go through many pedals. I'm working on this pedal with David, but I don't have a lot of pedals here, really. So Otto said, did it have coil taps? It did. I covered that. What price do they go for, and do they still make them? Dave Meacham asks. So they make an SE version only now. And as I said, I got those. Each of those cost about the same. They're about $1,000, though I have seen them go for as much as $1,500 in rare colors. You can get the Mira X's in all kinds of wild colors. They did them in like orange and neon green and some wild colors, but they also did them in this nice cherry red. They did them in a vintage. There's a vintage one on REVERB right now. And they did them in black, which is a very cool, black with tortoiseshell would be cool. Let's see. Steve Truglio. Always my friend from Pennsylvania. So Mr. Less is More, how many guitars do you have right now? I have 3 Strandbergs, one of which is for a project that was right in here until the other day that's coming out called Guitar Rig of the Future, which is a single pickup guitar that's been rewired and customized with a bare knuckles pickup. And then I have the 2 Strandbergs that I've always had. I have the 3 Collings, and I have these 2 electrics. So I went from 11 down to 3. Well, 11. I sold 11 and bought 3. And then I had 3 already. And the 3 Collings are what I play every day. When I sit down to play, that's what I play. Although I have been playing these 2 guitars to get them set up. Obviously, the setup that I did is not good enough. So that's what that is. All right. So before I go to I just said it, but I'm going to put gold hardware on the black one as well. So all this nice gold hardware. And I have a set of Phase 2 gold locking tuners for that guitar as well. And then I have a whole pile here, a whole pile of gold screws and strap buttons and yeah, fun stuff. All right. Let me do the S2 here. So the core Miras ran. I don't want to miss the questions though. Okay, I am caught up with questions, I think, unless the very recent ones. John says, "What's the color of the red one? It reminds me of a melody maker I had." I don't know what color that. PRS does not use the colors that. So let's go back in custom color world. The guys at Fender use the colors that were coming from DuPont, which were basically the same colors they were putting on cars. You can get a Fiesta Red Thunderbird from those years, and you can get a Fiesta Red Strat. Then the guys at Gibson came out a few years later with their own color chart with new names on everything, but they were the same colors, exact same paint. And then PRS came along, and they have a really great time naming their colors. They're cracking me up sometimes. So I don't know what they call them, John. Sorry. Dreppin Project says he has a stock S2 semi-hollow with birds, upgraded adjustable bridge. Have you seen many of these during your research? Haven't seen many. I actually owned a semi-hollow S2, but let me talk about the S2s. And I did own a semi-hollow, and I think they're a particularly cool model. I don't know how many they built compared to the solid ones. So the S2s ran from 2013 to 2018. They redesigned the pickguard into a single unit holding the pickups, unlike these, which have traditional pickup surrounds, pickup rings. Kind of like the Batwing SG direction. They were making a single unit so you could put all the wiring in one unit and then just drop it into the guitar. Clearly, it was a way to save on production costs. Trying to keep, I think with the Miras, they were trying to keep the costs the same, make it still a very affordable guitar while prices were going up for materials. I don't know. I wasn't at PRS, and I don't want to make excuses for people I don't know. But like I said, kind of like what happened with the SG. In most every other way, really, I think the body size, the thickness, the neck, and the S2s, very similar. I should have said it if I didn't. The Mira was one of the very earliest Stevensville, Maryland, American-made guitars that was designed to be less expensive to build. And it really led to the S2 line. Though it wasn't called an S2 when it came out. It was a core guitar. And you'll see, like if you go on Reverb, they call this style of Mira, like the black one, a core Mira. And they ran until this year in 2013 when the S2s were released. And as Steve was saying, that they actually had a semi-hollow one that they released as well. And they did them in all kinds of different colors. Oh, there's David Barber. I have a semi-Mira with adjustable bridge, metallic purple with dots. I added McCarty pickups with covers. Yeah, David is a great customizer. Scott Bogfoot says, do you find some guitar shapes disappear when playing them? Like how a glove becomes an extension of the hand, and which ones? That's a great question. I actually find that the Strandbergs completely do that for me. They just disappear. I've played them enough. I played them through a patch of my life when I wasn't really feeling that well, and they just were so comfortable to play. Some people tell me Strats are like that for them. Strats are not like that for me. That I-30 is pretty much the perfect size for me. It puts my hands in the right place without having to lean in too much, kind of breaking down to my yoga, all that kind of stuff. So that's that. Like I said, I owned a few S2 Miras myself. I used them as platforms for customizing. So that was something that I was looking for in these. And let me just quickly finish up, and I'll run that clip of Brian Ewald talking about the SEs. So in 2018, kind of to my dismay, I'll say, because I've always loved this model, they decided to make the Mira an SE only, an import only guitar. And they took away the kind of nice sort of carved levels and things and just kind of rounded the edge on the front and back. Kind of looks like, to me, an Ibanez S stereo guitar like Satriani would play. Excuse me. So pizza lunch. So that's what they are now. I have looked at them because I'm going to do a course. We're thinking about building a course called Great Tone at Home. And I'm interested in using guitars at different levels. And I really have always felt that the import SE guitars from PRS have been a game changer in the marketplace. It's funny. I know the media people at PRS, and they've offered, to maybe have me talk to Paul at some time on a live stream, or Jack Higginbotham. And Jack was the guy who kind of, along with Paul, convinced Paul to do the SE line and had the connections overseas and things. So frankly, I'm kind of more interested in talking to Jack. People get to talk to Paul, and you see interviews with Paul. Rick did a great interview with Paul. I don't think anybody's done great interviews with Jack. And I would do it like this, on Zoom. And I'm fascinated with what they've done with the SEs for that reason. So as I said, let me run this little clip of Brian talking about it because he has one, and Brian's been playing like as a session guitarist. He actually met Rick, man, like around 2000 or maybe the late 90s when Rick was still producing, because he was in a band that Rick was, recording down in Atlanta. And Brian does travel to do recordings and stuff. And of course, he's been working for PRS. He lives near there for years and years. And he's an old friend of David Barber's as well. So let me just run this clip. Okay, doesn't look very good.
Came out. I have a Mira that I absolutely love. It's my go-to guitar when I just need a great straight-ahead rock tone.
Okay, looks like we got some user error going on here. Basically, what he's saying there is that he really loves the SE, and he has one and uses it for like the straight-ahead rock parts. And I would say that that is actually a niche. And he said that even clean sort of rock parts are really where this guitar shines. I chose this for these two projects I've been doing, and just really briefly, I'll quickly talk about that because it's already 4:48. So oh, you guys could hear it? I just couldn't hear it? Oh, okay, I'll run it.
Punching through
I'll let him talk about it.
It's beautiful mid-range.
I know what he says. So.
One of my favorite instruments. This one feels and sounds exactly like mine. And as a matter of fact, same color with the tortoise pickguard. The black and the tortoise is probably one of those classic looks. The SE Mira specs out as a 25-inch scale, 22-fret guitar, wide, thin neck profile, mahogany neck, and mahogany.
I cut him off. So he basically says the thing I said about what he does. I'm curious to play one. I think it'd be really interesting. Thanks for letting me know that that's playing out there. Robert, calm down. I'll do as I'm told. That's great. Okay, cool. So I got these two guitars for two different projects. The Billy Gibbons one I talked about already. That's right here, the red one. The black guitar, I talked about it a couple weeks ago. Also, just briefly, I had this conversation with Ron Ellis that he was going to put some guitars in one of Robin Ford's signature guitars. And as you all know, those get sold out really fast at a very high price. And they're basically a McCarty with a different headstock. And even the pickups, I don't think are that different than the TCI pickups, the 8515s that you get in a McCarty. So I had this idea to do a version of that guitar much, much less expensively. And then, as is my way, I kind of lost my head and decided that I would actually make it into a Black Beauty, which is something I had wanted to do with a Mira a long time ago as well. So that's going to get all gold hardware. It's going to be a gold version, and that's what it's going to be. So, so that's the two things, and that's the pile of parts I've got here. All right. Let me make sure I haven't missed any questions. Deep Sky Dude wants to know if I've had any CEs. I actually have owned a couple of CE24s, the current ones. Again, I wish the necks were fatter. I wish they still offered a fatter neck. But I have to say that I thought they were great guitars. I'm very impressed with the middle position sounding as stratty as they do with just the two pickups. I think they sound amazing. They're not like, to me, they don't sound like a Telly. They have a little bit of quack in the middle position. I think it's the bolt neck. I would have one of those. I've said it here before. I don't love the traditional PRS shape. I apologize to those that do. I love the fact that we all differ in our opinions. But this shape has always worked for me. This sort of like, modernized Les Paul double cut junior. I love that. So I think I am caught up. All right, let's do, I got new ones here. What is the Billy Gibbons one you mentioned? That's the red one. That's the red guitar. So I think of this as a Billy Gibbons guitar because it weighs nothing. I'm going to put a set of 8s on it. I have the strings already. I'm going to have the guys at Ish set it up, have Jay at Ish set it up. And like I said, I'm going to splash gold all over it. I actually think at one point, somebody else, I actually had a guy reach out to me after I had this out, or maybe it was from Instagram, and he only has these. He has two of the Mira X guitars, and one of them he has set up with 3 pickups that are high-lowtron, Gretsch high-lowtron pickups, which are sort of a higher output filtertron, humbucking filtertron, which is very cool. And then he has a 3-tone sunburst one with, I don't know what the pickups are, but they're just straight, replacement covered pickups. Great sounds. Panda says, what about the DGTs? I went back to the DGT and I had a very expensive one. And I just found I didn't pick it up and play it as often as I wanted to. The neck is just a little thin for me. I don't tend to play a lot of thumb over stuff, and I don't hybrid pick. And the style of instrument, I absolutely love Grissom as a player. I absolutely love that model. I even loved what they did. Somebody says BFG would never play a PRS. I beg to differ. I think he only plays custom guitars, even the ones that are labeled Fender or Gibson are usually made by Bolin. And just through a wink and a nod, let that go. Everybody's just glad to have it played. So I like DGTs. I am impressed with what they do, and I'm particularly impressed with DGT SE. I think it probably is one of the best ones they've done. Jared Hicks says, have you been so impressed with an SE guitar you find yourself not playing your custom shops? I don't have any PRS custom shop guitars anymore. I sold them all. I do find myself playing these and not the Collings sometimes because I've got these set up with 8s and with 9s, and they just feel like nothing. They're just like butter to play. Patrick Washburn says that BFG is using 7s. I've heard this, but with BFG, one of the things that's great about him is you're never quite sure where entertainment begins and the truth ends. There, that's the most diplomatic way I can put it. And I absolutely love that about Billy Gibbons. I find him endlessly entertaining. So, okay. So we got a few minutes left. I would like to hear from people. If I went to doing a weekly stream, I talked to my friend Jeff. I was kind of leaning towards 5 Watt Wednesday, but Jeff tells me he's going to come back and do his live streams at 4 o'clock. Beve is in Europe, so I can't keep him up. He has a later schedule than me, but I don't want to keep him up into the wee hours of the night. And so probably the latest I would do it would be this time slot, 4 to 5. So it's kind of feeling like Tuesday. Thursday often works because Thursday morning is a time when I do a release. But it takes me quite a bit of time to prep. So maybe we just leave it right here. Deep Sky Blue said, met Billy G at a hotel. I've heard that he is just like the most down-to-earth guy in person, although he can be fairly jargony. So what time at the day would you guys like me to do this? Or would you like me to alternate? Like do some weeks do like, I actually try not to work weekends, but when in the day does this work? You guys are here now, so I'll say this here and then we'll collect. 9 p.m. UK time is good, which is now. I'm looking at the answers here. So folks in Europe like this time. Thursday's good for Chris. Jesse Harmon, where are you, Jesse? What's noontime? What time zone? Bebe, which Billy guitar did you play? Bebe, man, I want your life. I absolutely love that. The guitar you played. Kill me. David Burkhart's kind of chiming in saying this 4 o'clock time slot works pretty well. Often miss Steve, it seems. 5 or 6 Eastern. You're like right in the middle of my dinner hour, Kevin. I'm such an old guy when it comes to eating early and going to sleep early and waking up early. I like the randomness of the things here. David Barber likes this time slot. It's kind of the middle of his day. Noon Eastern time zone. I think I might do. I think I'm gonna go and try to do the Patreon one like at a lunch hour or something. I might do that. Yeah, I like the 5 Watt Wednesday. I'm a big guy for alliteration, but I'm not going to step on Jeff's toes. Les Paul Jr. stories. Well, the 57. He has a 57 that my buddy Paul has. I don't play many guitars that haunt me, but how they talk about when you turn it down, you can make it sound almost acoustic, and it's just the 1P90, and that guitar is stock original. We opened the back cover and we looked at it. It doesn't even look like it's ever been resoldered. It looks, original Bumblebee cap, the whole thing. So yeah, a 5-watt Friday has a nice ring. You got a point. Although, I have to say that I'm not sure. I think people are really diving into the weekend at that point, but that's interesting. Barber said 4 a.m. Oh, thanks, Patrick. Thanks for the clarification. Okay. Well, this is really helpful. All right. Well, Otto put it very succinctly at the beginning that I'm not going to get him to buy a Mira. That was never my intention, to get people to run out and buy Miras, especially since I'm using these for workhorse guitars. And they will be really pretty and beautiful and interesting in the end. And I'm sure with the Ron Ellis pickups, they will continue to be competition for playing the Collings out there. Although the Collings guitars probably will end up with different Ron Ellis pickups over time as well. Otto says, yeah. All right. What's a weekend? Well, it's interesting. I do consulting sometimes with folks on YouTube. Not often. I don't take people on very often, but when I see people that I think have a lot of potential, I really enjoy helping somebody along, kind of the way Rick helped me along at the beginning. I'm a real pay it forward kind of person. I try to be. Where was I going with that? Yeah. So I do that every once in a while, but rarely. And then it's like a monthly thing, and it's for a whole hour. So Phil McKnight does really well at 5 p.m. Eastern on Fridays. Oh, so he's already there. We could go up against Phil. I don't know him, but I don't. Do you guys watch him? Noon Fridays. Steve, I want your life too. Would you ever hold a discussion with your philosophy, your philosophy of a practice space? Jared, that's kind of one of the reasons I'm thinking about doing this course, to kind of talk about different topics around having a setup at home where you can practice and record and, kind of do all those pieces. So Palmer Dave's talking about the Carina ones that they made with the single P90. Very cool. Phil's a gear guy. Yeah, I know his channel. I just don't know him personally. I have exchanged emails actually with Phil over the years, but I think I was too small to get Phil's attention back in the day. Maybe I still am. I think he's been out there doing it long ahead of me. All right. Well, hey, that's great. Keep putting those in there. It's 5 o'clock on a Thursday, so I should actually probably get back and do a little bit of editing before I call it a day. It's always a pleasure. As I said, I really enjoyed it. I enjoy talking about these guitars because they're important to me and my history, but also because I enjoy doing talking about sort of the projects that I've got going and talk about the history of guitars that you might not be that aware of. And I think they're amazing. I think actually these core Miras are actually a really good deal. And like I said, I have no stock in running up the prices, but I think that's true. Avi is here. Avi Eckhart. After playing guitar for 18 years now, I played a Strandberg for the first time. The most comfortable guitar I've ever played. Talking about guitars last way inspires you to play. Well, I hope that's true. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I am going to run the Tobias Hoffman clip again, and I will see you all next week sometime. We'll figure it out. Thanks again.